Hey, thanks so much for joining me today, Chris. I'm
Hey,
excited
Denise.
to talk to you about Breakthrough.
Awesome, for sure.
Awesome. So, can you just tell me, what's your name, how old are you, and where are you from?
Yeah, my name is Chris Del Camino. I am 41 and I'm from California, from Southern California, from San Diego, but I'm currently residing in the Bay Area.
Awesome. And what kind of music do you work on?
Let's see, I work on a range of music, I would say. I mean, I've been in a reggae rock pop band that I helped start for, let's see, we've been going for 11 years, so that's a big genre and kind of adjacent genres. So, like, I'm also into like Afro beats, dub, um, also more like traditional sounding reggae, and then of course like the Cali reggae, which is like a blend of, or American reggae, reggae rock, which is kind of a blend of pop and rock and reggae. And then my own project under my name, Chris Del Camino, is sort of a lo-fi hip hop pop, with a dash of all of my influences, Latin, kind of like some reggaeton. Um, yeah, and then in the club, I've been working. Staying mostly within the pop lane or pop adjacent, kind of indie pop, alt pop realms. And then I would say a little bit more recently in some kind of like EDM kind of areas too.
Cool. And are you a singer, songwriter, producer, or all three?
Yes, I am all three, I would say. Yeah, singer, songwriter, producer for sure. I've been developing my singing most recently, starting like about 6 years ago, but I've been producing to different capacities, starting like in my teens, composing for like computer games and video games, and then more recently, like more full bore, like um, modern, like full-fleshed sounding productions.
Awesome. And can you just explain a little bit about what you were doing before you discovered Breakthrough in the Billboard 500 Club?
Yeah, let's see. Well, let's see. I discovered the Billboard Club during I want to say it was like kind of in the pandemic era. I think it was 2021. I was at the Durango Songwriters Conference, in the one that's in Ventura. And I met a couple of Billboard 500 members. I met Reese, and I remember he was talking me up about this group that he was in and kind of like some of the benefits that he had gotten from it, like, the feedback that you get, like the amount of growth that you can get from really pointed, honest feedback, and then also just the kind of like the community that comes along with it, which is obviously huge to be part of a community of people that are kind of like I wouldn't say like-minded because we're all like different awesome people, but we definitely share like I would say like the focus and the drive in all of our different like musical styles, and to be surrounded by people that are on that vibe is pretty invaluable, I would say. So yeah, I think it was 2021 when I discovered. Maybe I joined in early 2022. I can't. It's been years now. And then the breakthrough was, I think I discovered it from hearing about the Breakthrough 1.0, the first year of it with those members, and then yeah, I gave it some thought after Adam had mentioned that I would maybe be a good fit for it. So yeah,
Cool. And where do you feel like you were stuck before you discovered and went through Breakthrough?
let's see. How was I stuck before I went through Breakthrough? Yeah, I guess there's a couple of things. I mean, I think every musician, composer, songwriter, performer, kind of in any realm or area of music, we've all heard like the term kind of imposter syndrome, which is, I think, a smaller subset of like a bigger kind of self-confidence issue, which is, I would say, understandable because regardless of like your whatever level of accomplishment or achievement you may have made, which for some people might be really great compared to what they have, and then you always have something maybe above you that makes you feel like you're down here. And so I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me is a bit coming into my own, like realizing what my biggest strengths are and realizing that I am a lot further down along the line than I kind of realized, coupled with, I would say, doing the work of creating and collaborating with people, crafting your songs to like a very high level, raising your bar, but then realizing that you've not just raised your bar of expectations, but now you've actually gotten your level up there. So it's like one thing to have a high bar and then realize that you're not there yet, but then when you actually skill level up to get there, that's like the biggest thing that you can do. I mean, some people, I would say the problem for many people in the beginning of growth is that thinking, not realizing where their bar can be or where it should be, right? And then you have to adjust those expectations, which can be like kind of a painful process to come to terms with the reality of what your competition is in the world of like kind of commercial music and sync music, and even touring artists and things like that. So once you can kind of get over that hurdle of realizing, okay, I'm not as good as I wanted to be, but I have the drive, I have the tools, I can get the feedback, I have the community. I think putting all that together in combination is like a really huge boost of confidence. And I think that kind of growth is hard to come by and is invaluable. So um, yeah.
Awesome. And what made you feel like you wanted to try out Breakthrough and, that you felt like it was something that it was a good fit?
Um, yeah, why did I want to try out Breakthrough? Yeah, I think um, in your life you're going through honing on different skills. Different people have different careers and different methods of getting to where they need to go. And, over the last several years, especially during the pandemic, when my band had to kind of take a break from touring, which in my band I have more of a supportive role. I'm not the lead singer. Um, I have been helping songwrite, do stage production for the albums, and I'm the saxophonist, also doing backups and stuff. So that's been an awesome journey, and it's still going. But then when the pandemic came and everything kind of stopped, I took that opportunity to begin growing as a solo artist, working on my songwriting. And I remember took some online songwriting courses, and that weren't Billboard 500 related, and I had some growth there. But I think I realized that even in that, it was like plateauing a bit. And when you sign up for like one class one time, it's cool for like those months that you might have the class, and then you're kind of back on your own. And so I think one thing that I realized with the Billboard 500, just to make another like a parallel comparison, is like I would say maybe if you're a professional like electrician, right, and you join like I wouldn't say like a union, but one of the like a an organization of other people, right? Having a community, realizing what like joining others in that, and a lot of musicians are out there, I think, on their own just kind of like getting little bits of feedback. Maybe it's a lot of their family and friends saying, "What you made is the greatest thing," or whatever, and their sense of community might be limited more towards their peers that maybe aren't even music makers, which is always great to have your family and friends behind you. But to have a sense of community that involves peers that are like people that are actually creating, um, doing the same things that you're doing and being in it for the long run. So when I joined the Billboard 500, that was my intent and my hope was to join a community of people that I would feel connected with and that wouldn't be just a temporary one-off, kind of like a 3-month situation. And I do think I found that, when I joined the club, I've gotten invaluable feedback from not just Adam, but just from also my peers, other people that are in the group and the different guests that have come along to give feedback. So, um, yeah, so basically, I think that is one of the biggest factors for me is that sense of community and joining other people where you're constantly wanting to grow, do better by yourself, but also linking and collaborating with other people where you want to bring your best. And just, yeah, there's power in numbers, I think, like this is, especially in the world of music, it's so easy to get lost by yourself on your own. And I think realizing when it's time to join a group of people and to kind of come together, and maybe not everyone's there yet, but I really feel like in my point in my life, that's what I was ready for.
Awesome. And how do you feel you've progressed so far in Breakthrough?
How have I progressed in breakthrough? Yeah, well, I hit out the year doing really well, having some collaborations, and then more and more collaborations. I've done some sync camps and some artist camps. Um, it's definitely been like, I would say an up and down as life goes. I mean, different aspects of breakthrough come to mind, for instance, with the work that we've been doing with Wendy Paquette, who's super awesome, but as far as like the mindset kind of coaching and stuff, I think realizing to be a bit gentler to yourself and forgiving and kind to yourself has actually also been part of my breakthrough growth, which realizing that, you might be going uphill, but it might feel like, the hill isn't straight up. It involves some downturns and some upturns and back down and back up, and you're riding this kind of roller coaster. For me, it has been up, but I think Wendy's also helped me realize that you're still gonna feel like that, sometimes those down days, like even people at the top of their game, like the highest achievers, will still, have those days. So I think having that perspective is really great. Um, and that's in the area of like mindset coaching, I would say that's been really good for me. That kind of couples with like your sense of confidence because oftentimes, throughout the year you have different senses of doubt and am I going to be good enough or what am I doing? Is it good enough? But I think also then the next kind of point I would bring up is seeing the growth that other people in this breakthrough kind of cohort of us, like dozen or so people, has also been inspiring just to see the ways that we can all grow and help each other and fill in like each other's gaps, and be there for each other, as far as giving some critique or offering some different advice or jumping on sessions with each other, and kind of really seeing what we can do together has been super inspiring. Um, and then I guess the third point is like really like kind of the nuts and bolts of composition, songwriting, music production, from picking the sounds that you're going to use to how you're going to fit them together in the mix, um, to kind of like your vocal delivery, all the little components, the melodies that you pick, the lyrics and the rhymes that you choose, like the ability that we've had to like really kind of buckle down and like get really molecular with those things has been really good. And to be able to have that kind of one-on-one experience that we've gotten with our private mentorships and like the private one-on-one meetings that we've had with the guest mentors has been super awesome as far as having direct feedback in like a private, hour-long session to really be able to ask all the questions that you have and get like immediate feedback on if it's, vocal mixing or if it's drum, like conceptualizing your drums and how you get the drums in there, or to, getting really good perspectives on what's syncable and what that means versus like what's an artist kind of a song. I think all those things have also been really invaluable for me.
Amazing. And I know that, Wendy's been a big mentor for you in the program, but I'm curious to know if there's anything else that you feel like has been helpful for you personally, where you've changed a lot and grown a lot.
Hmm. I'm trying to think, I think just for me, one of the biggest things that I realized that I've grown a lot is from the creation in the camps that we've done with the breakthrough people. Like more recently, I had a really good experience collaborating on a song with Antoinette and some other writers. And from a production aspect, that really just even that one experience kind of changed and shifted my focus, or not my focus, but my um, sense of self-confidence in producing, especially in this kind of, it was a dark pop kind of a genre, which was newer to me, but kind of just realizing where my abilities are. And I kind of realized, I think I was, I have um, greater ability than I even really thought I had. So maybe it's like after coming a bit of distance through the breakthrough process of creation and revision and iteration, then looking back and being like, oh wow, I really am able to create like a on a professional level and kind of like at a professional rate of turnover for creating a song. So and that of course affects like kind of my mindset going forward with future projects and realizing like how much easier it would be than it seems because sometimes it seems so daunting to be in the lead of a production, and realizing oh I can do that is has been really great.
Awesome. And what do you feel has been some of the biggest takeaways you've had so far from this experience?
Hmm.
This could be like friendships, songwriting, the team, your process, anything like that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I would have gotten by now is realizing the power of the team and the friendships that we've been crafting through like the sessions. And while I'm still circling back and getting around to developing more relationships with some of the other breakthrough members. We all haven't exactly collaborated with every single person. I don't think has collaborated with every single other person at this point yet, but we still have the rest of our musical lives to go, which is super awesome. Like I'm super looking forward to collaborating more with those that I've already collaborated with, and I'm looking forward to having built this like group of people have gone through this intense process together, this year-long thing and beyond, and looking forward to kind of knowing that we have each other's backs in the future as we keep growing and taking on projects like outside of the scope of this breakthrough. So for me, as far as like kind of I would say like my more anxious self would go as far as anxious for me being anxious or anxiety kind of has to do with like the future, right? It's like the future isn't here yet. Yet as a musician, as a professional, you have to plan on your future, right? You have to be thinking a year ahead, 2 years ahead. Because when you are writing a song, for instance, if it's for a pitch, you might not always make the pitch, and sometimes that song might get placed 5 years ahead. So whether or not you like it, you have to be able to plan that far ahead because when the next year rolls around, you have to realize, oh, okay, well, I still have more songs to write. I still have to keep going. And so as far as how you feel as a creator, not, it's one thing to feel and to plan on the future when you're by yourself. But then when you're thinking about the future in terms of, oh, I have grown these connections, I have these teams, we can form teams when we want, and I have this like small, more tight-knit network for the future. It actually brings a lot of relief to that kind of like big question mark and that big vague kind of cloud that you don't know what is in your future because the future isn't here yet. So, um, yeah, that has been one of the greatest feelings to know that I can look forward to working more with these friends that I've made through these collaborations from the breakthrough too.
Amazing. And have you had any light bulb or aha moments? And if so, what have they been?
Hmm. Yeah, one, have I had any light bulb or aha moments? I think one that I was just touching upon yesterday in a one-on-one session that I had was actually realizing the value of feedback and going and getting that feedback. Some people never even in their, process get to that point of seeking feedback, right? Of course, like with the Billboard group, that's like one of the cornerstones of what we do is go and get feedback, go to a demo critique, get some advice, get some ears on it, from people that aren't your best friends and that aren't your girlfriend or your wife, your mom, your dad, whoever, your siblings, because those people love you and they're always going to kind of say, "Yay, you did great," right? So now that we're in this feedback process, right, we've all realized the value of it. I think my most recent biggest aha moment has been realizing, oh, I've gained the confidence now where at a certain point when you get enough feedback, when you say, I've done it, the song is done. Like, because in a certain sense, what you have to learn as a creator is that you can't quite be a perfectionist. You have to balance between what your bar is and realizing where you're at and knowing that you don't like perfection is just more of like a mental concept, right? But being professional means getting it across the line to that level that you need to be. Like for like with the golden ear that we've been doing in the club and like honing in on what you hear, I've listened to like I was like I think it was like a Katy Perry track or something where I could listen to like one of her big releases and I heard like a comping, like I could hear where they could have comped something better. You know what I mean? I was like, well, this is like a big record. And like I just heard like a, whatever it was, if it was a breath that was comped like in the middle or like like a like really finite little tiny detail and realizing, oh, like they didn't even achieve what you think is perfection. When you're achieving, when you're striving for that, it seems like, oh, that's just so perfect. And then when you get to a really high refined level, you start to hear imperfections in really big records, and then you have to adjust your own sense of perfection and what you can attain and what's needed to be attained. And I think to be a professional working, like turning over music and getting the job done involves having that. So for me, the big aha moment is being like, get your feedback, do your revisions, do your iterations, and then like take a breath and like listen to it one last time, get your feedback, do your things, and then close it out and move on to the next one and keep going because you're just going to get better and better and better from doing. So that's been a good feeling to realize like, yes, at a certain point you call it, you did your thing, you've done your best, feels good.
I love that. What's something that has surprised you, either about you, the program, or anything that you've learned?
Hmm. What's something that has surprised me? Yeah, I think I'm surprised by how quickly ideas can be turned around at a pretty good level, depending on what your goal is, I can see how people could generate a bunch of content quickly, but then also thinning out. That's a process for some people, right? When you're making an album, you're going to put a bunch of songs kind of on the table and kind of like curate them and realize what you're going to need to have, right? And when you're creating a demo, realizing, oh, okay, you just need to get this far. You're trying to get the idea, the feeling, the vibe. Um, but what's surprising to me is like when you um, refine your craft and get better and better at your skill, like how fast you can actually get not just the demo product out, but like the commercially viable, like that sound at a high level. And I think from refining all the skills, um, it was surprising that actually you like less is more, I guess is what you're saying. But because it's not as simple as less is more when you're just a beginner, what you have been doing as you've been growing is focusing on the most important things. And then when you have like for instance, in a songwriting sync camp, right, when you're giving yourself this couple days goal, you then have to ignore all those little things that your creative brain wants. I want to try this, I want to try that. No, you have to just do the most important things that you've learned now, the most pressing things. And once you've achieved those, all those other little kind of like fun ideas that you might have had are kind of irrelevant. So I think it's surprising when you think that it's more and more daunting to get something at a high level, but it's actually that you've gotten better at um, doing the most important things first and ignoring those things that as a creative mind you want to do. And there's a huge value in doing that first, because as creative people, we really want to go all over the place and we have all sorts of ideas. Um, and from doing the process again and again and refining and under a time crunch, you then hone in and refine like exactly doing what needs to be done first. And yeah, if there's a little bit of time, you can explore potential alternative ideas or ways things could be different, but mostly realizing, like, yes, we've refined exactly the what our process is to get quickly there. Um, yeah, and I guess the surprise factor is like realizing, oh, I'm doing more. Um, I'm getting more out, but I'm doing less because I'm ignoring I'm letting the less important things kind of fall by the wayside, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me for sure. What is something that you would tell your younger self? Let's say someone who, is considering joining Breakthrough or the club. What advice would you give them before they even knew what this program was or what it was about?
What advice would I give to someone considering? Um, I know, like, I would say you're gonna have your self-doubts, you're gonna have um, questions, you're gonna question yourself and your abilities. Um, you just keep creating and you'll just get better and better. I think in the beginning, a lot of that doubt prevents you from maybe finishing ideas or creating the ideas or even letting anyone hear them. And I think part of the process is learning to grow, to trust yourself and then also trust others when you get the feedback. And it's kind of like this cycle that you have to do. Um, I think I would say that you're capable of doing much more than you think you can. That what will come out of you is like magic, and you have to like unleash that magic. And it's a process of trust and learning to trust yourself, learning to trust your community, um, and letting that process happen. I think when you're starting out, you stop yourself in two different many ways, and then you start to maybe also overthink things. But it's really like you just need like an adjustment of your perspective. So it's more just like showing up. Like you just have to show up and then trust in that process.
That's great advice. Thank you. What's it been like working with other hit songwriters, producers, and mentors?
Um, yeah, how's it been working with other hit songwriters and producers? It's been amazing. I mean, for instance, I just had a session with Lauren Dyson, who has had, some pretty epic cuts in different genres, and I know in like the K-pop world and stuff. And coming to her with some of the questions and just kind of things like, oh, I thought like maybe is this the case or that, and then getting that validation is pretty huge because then you're like, oh, I'm kind of on the same page as far as how I thought that would work or this or that, with a big songwriter, and it feels pretty crazy to be like, okay, wow, like, you know, I'm that much closer to that high level that, I didn't know I would have been or could have been. And then, and that's not always the case because sometimes you're, like I've, listening to kind of some of the vocal production and things like that, where like, oh, I have stuff to learn also, and then learning that. So it's a bit of both. When you get that kind of validation and confirmation, that feels great, and it's like confidence boost. Then on the other hand, when you have something that you need to learn, going and being able to get that feedback and advice is like also crazy because it's like really hard to get some of this kind of advice without having a kind of like a industry inside connection, because not everyone's just out there offering all this kind of advice for free. So it's a bit of both, kind of that self-validation for things that you know that you had a feeling about, and then you're like, oh, I am closer to that than I realized. And then on the other hand, yeah, getting those skills and leveling up in those really specific, fine-tuned ways. It's been awesome.
Awesome. And what's it been like working with a team of people who actually hold you accountable?
Hmm. Yeah. How's it been like working with a team of people that hold me accountable? Has been pretty good. I mean, we all learn to expect high levels from each other. At the same time, we know that we're also all kind of growing together. So it's like not, I wouldn't say like a push and pull or it's a bit of kind of like understanding and being kind and sympathetic to each other, but then also coming around and realizing, okay, hey, we have this thing we're getting across the finish line, we're doing that, and that's pretty big. Again, I think like I was talking about earlier with the sense of community when you're out there by yourself, no one's holding you accountable. You might have your own vague goals. Maybe you achieve them, maybe you don't, versus once you're on a team with people, it's not only your expectations, but the expectations of those on your team. And it might help you in a situation where you're not feeling as motivated, but some situations or some days or weeks or certain projects, you're the one that's motivating, and you're the one that's getting the idea across in a way, and you're filling in someone's gap that you didn't realize you could even do that you were doing, and now here you are doing that. So that is the power of the team for me, is that sense, a heightened sense of responsibility to each other, which results in a higher sense of like, pressure of accountability, but also knowing that we can all perform and we can rely on each other for that is super super cool.
Awesome. And then what do you have coming up in the future?
Uh, what do I have coming up in the future? Yes, like literally in a week, I'm going to the studio in Las Vegas with my band, with certain members of the band, and we're doing like the rhythm sessions for recording our fifth full-length album with my band Hyrie. So I'm super excited for that, and for the first time, I'm taking on more of a co-production role alongside Danny Kalb, who's like the lead producer who also helped produce and mix our previous some of our previous albums. So that's a super exciting new role to take, kind of a more, a higher role as far as production goes in a whole full length album. So I'm super excited about that responsibility and that process. Again, collaborating with a band is something that I've loved doing for years, for a decade. So that's going to be great. Um, as a solo artist, I have been excited to now be releasing some of the stuff that I've been collaborating with other Billboard members. So I just had a song come out a couple weeks ago called "Letting You Go," and that was with Chris Turner and Chris Dodson and myself. I think that is my own first release involving Billboard people on that's under my name. So that's feeling super good. I have another release that's planned for October, which is also from the Breakthrough camp. So that's another awesome win that I'm super excited about. And in fact, that's going to be timed with my debut performance in Japan. So I'm going to Japan in let's see, 3 weeks, which is I'm super nervous about, super excited about. I'm going to be performing two 30-minute sets, 2 different days at a small festival in Japan. So that's exciting. That's going to be a huge mark of growth for me as a solo artist out there by myself, singing along to like backing tracks of my own works. So I'm super excited about that. And then looking ahead toward the end of the year, I'm really excited about gathering the material, some of my best works, running them through the ringer with the mentors from the Breakthrough 2 and really getting them to the highest possible level that I can, picking just the best cream of the crop songs and getting those ready for the listening sessions that are going to be happening in December. And I'm super excited for not only the shape that those songs will be in, the level that they'll be at, but also the opportunities that having songs at that high of a level will generate, not just in those listening sessions, but then also when those songs are released, what the reactions that will generate with my fans, and should any sync placements or any kind of placements come about from it, is something super exciting that I'm looking forward to. Um, yeah.
Awesome. I know we haven't gotten to the marketing side of things yet for you guys, but that's coming up this month too, which I'm excited about. And yeah, any last final thoughts? Anything else you want to share about your experience or any advice you want to give for anyone who might be considering joining Breakthrough or the Build 500 Club?
Well, I am just mentioning the marketing thing. I'm super excited. I've been following along all the wins that Adam's been getting. I know that he's been doing a lot of work in this area. He's been sharing a ton with us about how excited he is, and not just the excitement, but the actual results. We've seen the viewers go up, the Spotify listens go up, the email list growing, and this process is being refined. So I'm super excited to get in on that knowledge and that process. And as the year rounds out, getting our material ready, and what better thing to do when you have some of the greatest material you've ever created is to pair that with a process, a marketing process that will then like help launch it, into the stratosphere, into the world and beyond. So I'm super excited about that. As for any final tips that I would offer to potential Billboard 500 members or to anyone considering doing the next breakthrough, I would say go for it. Absolutely do it. If you've been plateauing, if you feel like what you're looking for, you've not been able to find via, maybe it's like following your favorites on Instagram or going to your local songwriter circle. I mean, this is like we are global. We have people around the world, um, people from so many different like walks and different influences. And I think as a musician, one of the things, and as a creative, one of the things that we thrive on is diversity of thought, diversity of people's influences, the backgrounds, musical backgrounds. It's one thing to be in your own scene if it's rock or metal or pop or hip hop, reggae, and that's cool. Like keep your scene. You're not gonna like walk away from that, but you're gonna join such a huger collective of people that is going to be so far beyond what you could expect that you might get. So I would say definitely go for it. It's been awesome for me, not only just the breakthrough program, but the years leading up to it as a Billboard 500 member has been super. Um, yeah, so I just provided me a ton of value, and I think I've also been able to, and it feels good for me to be able to provide that value to the others that I collaborate with, and we're all kind of in here, we're all growing together, and it's awesome to see the growth that people have been achieving, and all their different steps as we're all like leveling up. It's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was fantastic. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the year.
Yeah, totally, Denise. Yeah. Thanks so much for the little interview. If you want any more later on in the year or something, I'm around
Awesome. Thank you.
for sure.